So to convert vertex form into standard form, it takes a little bit more work because we've got a binomial squared. And a lot of times students don't square it correctly. What it means to square something is multiply it by itself. A lot of students want to take the shortcut and just distribute the square into the parentheses. But let me show you the difference between the two. If I distribute the square in, I get x squared plus 9, and then I would subtract 5 to combine my like terms. That's not the proper way to square a binomial. If I square it and multiply it by itself, x plus 3 times x plus 3, I will get a different answer. So I'm going to start by distributing my two binomials. I'm going to multiply before I subtract the 5 because that's order of operations. So x times x is x squared, x times 3 is 3x, 3 times x is 3x, and 3 times 3 is 9, bringing down that minus 5. I'll combine that with my like terms. But notice on the one that I did incorrectly, this one that is incorrect, I don't have these two terms, the 3x plus 3x. So be careful that you don't make that very common mistake when you're squaring your binomials. And my last step is to combine my like terms. So I have x squared, and again, make sure that you start with your squared term first, then your x terms, 3x plus 3x is 6x, and your constant is last, 9 minus 5 is 4. We'll get a couple more of these because, again, this is a bit more complicated than the factored form. Start by squaring the binomial. Remember, exponents come before multiplication, so this time you cannot distribute the 4 into this parenthesis because order of operations, you square or exponents before you multiply. So let me show you what this one looks like. I'm going to use brackets to set off my order of operations. I'm going to square my x minus 1 or multiply it by itself before I multiply by that 4. And then lastly, I'll subtract the 10. So squaring my binomial, x times x is x squared, x times negative 1 is negative x, negative 1 times x is negative x, and negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. Now I'm going to combine my like terms inside the parentheses, and then I'll distribute the 4. So we've got x squared minus x is negative 2x. Distributing that 4 only to the terms in my parentheses, I get 4x squared minus 8x plus 4, and then my minus 10 will be my combining like terms. 4 minus 10 is negative 6. Again, standard form, you have to have your squared term first, then your x term, and finally your constant. One more. Start by squaring that binomial. Make sure you square the binomial before you distribute that coefficient. Multiply it by itself, so we've got y equals negative 3. X times x is x squared. X times 2 is 2x. 2 times x is 2x. And 2 times 2 is 4. Combine the like terms while you distribute the coefficient, or I would actually recommend doing those in 2 separate steps. 2x plus 2x is 4x. Only distribute the coefficient to what's in parentheses. Don't distribute it to that plus 9 that's on the outside. Negative 3 times x squared is negative 3x squared. Negative 3 times 4 is negative 12x. Negative 3 times 4 is negative 12. And the plus 9 will be our combining like terms. And making sure it's organized with our squared term first, then our x term, negative 12 plus 9 is negative 3, and finally our constant. And here are your 2 U-try problems.